It's time to see ACP in action. In this lecture, we will create a very simple agent that supports ACP, and then we will make an HTTP call to it to get some results back. As you know, this course comes with a GitHub repository called MCP-ACP. If you clone this repository using GitHub Desktop, for example, you will see that it's got a directory called ACP. Inside that, there are a bunch of Python scripts that you can look at and learn from, but also I will explain these throughout the course. So let's go to Visual Studio. As you remember, I created a Python virtual environment. So if your environment is active, use it. Otherwise, please activate your environment and then install the ACP SDK by typing pip install ACP SDK, ACP-SDK. So once it's installed, you can use it. So the first thing we want to look at is called simple-server PI. As you can see, it's a very simple script to create an agent that has ACP capabilities and allows the clients to make calls to it. You have to import ACP SDK.server. If you wanted to develop client, you would have to import ACP_SDK.client. So import the ACP SDK.client for client that makes call to ACP agents. And to develop an ACP agent that will have ACP interface, import ACP_SDK.server. Also, you need a data model called message. I will show you that what this message is, but you need to import it. So first thing, you create an instance of server class like this. And then you need a function. The function can be asynchronous or asynchronous. So you will create a function, for example, like this, and you call it whatever you want, like name agent in my example. The parameter that is passed to this function must be of type message. So once you decorate your function using server.agent and then a name for the agent, your function will need to follow a certain rule. The first rule is that you must have an input parameter, and this input parameter will be an array. And the reason that it's an array is that the second parameter must have a certain type, which is called context. I will show you later. And that array will be an array of message type. So if you want to get the first parameter that is passed to your function, you will need to get the first item of the array, for example, names 0. And then this message has an attribute called content, like this. But you don't need to mention it because it will be inferred. So if you just say, for example, in my case, names 0, then it will get the first parameter or first item in the array, and then it will get its content. The content carries the value. For example, if you pass a string, it will be that string, and my function returns string. Basically, this function receives a name, and then it says, hello, that name. And then, as I said, ACP server sits on top of Fast API. It is basically a Fast API server with extra capability. To start your server, you use your server instance up in here and then .run. If you just say server.run like this, the default port will be 8000. If you want to specify a port, just say port is 8000. And by default, this will be bound to localhost. But if you want a different host name, you can also say host is and then provide a host name. Now let's run this. Okay, as you can see, it is listening at 127.001.8000. Now let's go to Postman. So this is Postman. If you don't know what Postman is a client for REST APIs. It allows you to make calls, for example, get HTTP calls, post HTTP calls, and so forth to REST APIs. So if my ACP server is listening on localhost at port 8000, I should get something, but then as you can see, I get 404 because nothing is here at the root. But if I go and make a call to one of the ACP endpoints, for example, the discovery endpoint is called agents, /agents, you will see a response. And in this, you can see that it's an array called agents, and it has all the agents that I have created. For example, name agent, and it shows the specifications of the agent. For example, does it have tags? Does it have dependencies? Also, you can limit the input content types, as I will show you later, and output content types. These are inferred from the function essentially. So as you can see, I did not create this /agents endpoint. It was just added by ACP SDK to make this ACP compatible. Let's go back to Visual Studio. So in the sample code I have provided, there is also a Python script called simple client. So simple client is nothing but a function that makes an HTTP call. So because I wanted to make an asynchronous HTTP call, I imported async.io. And then as I said, when you create a client, basically any script that makes a call to ACP server, you need to import the client class from ACP SDK.client, this line. And then I just create a function. Within that function, I make a call to localhost 8000. And then the argument that I'm passing is basically input, which is my name. If you wanted to pass more than one parameter, you will have to pass an array. And also, again, this string that I have provided is implicitly being converted to message. So it doesn't stop you from also saying that, for example, this is message and then provide parts. But then if you want to do that, you need to import the message. So it will be from ACP SDK models import message. There is also a class called message part. Basically, a message is made of message parts. So if you say input is equal to message, it has a property called parts. If I hover the mouse, you will see that parts is a list of message part. So again, if you want to pass it explicitly as message part, you can say message part, and then inside message part, there will be content, and then you provide your string like that. I can actually comment this and leave it for you so you can see it later. However, if you are only passing one parameter, for example, of type string, then just spare yourself from doing this and provide a string. And Python will do the implicit conversion for you. You can decide whether you want to be type safe and do it this way, or you can just pass a string. Good. Now let's go to another terminal and run this. So again, we can say Python, and then my script is called simple client. And as you can see, response is hello RF. So let's see where this response comes from. So this response comes from this print. And as you can see, it is like run output 0 parts 0 content. So parts is basically the message parts. This one I showed you. So output is list of message. Every message has an attribute or property called parts. Parts is list of message, and content is the actual content. I remove this bit and I just return the run. So this is the actual output. If you look at the actual output, you will see that message part has a content type. So the default content type, if you don't specify anything, is text plain. And this was inferred from the return type of str, this one. So we can explicitly specify a structured return type as well, for example, JSON or anything like that. We will see it in the future examples, but if you don't, the default will be text plain. For most LLMs, if you return this value and then pass it to an AI model, for example, OpenAI GPT or something like that, text should be fine for most cases, because basically what you do, you generate a prompt and then return it back to the model, AI model. So in most cases, text plain is fine. I will let you get these two scripts, simple client and simple server, and just see that how you can create a super simple server and a client for it. And in the next lecture, we will add AI capability to our agents.